Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Gestalt IT Rundown, where each week we run down the IT news that you need to hear about with a little bit of snark thrown in for good measure. I'm your host, Tom Hollingsworth, and joining me today is my very special co-host for this episode, Mr. Stephen Foskett. Stephen, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you, Tom. It's good to talk
All
to you.
right. It's good to talk to you too. Thank you for joining us today. We got a great list of stories that we want to make sure that we get through, so we're going to go ahead and get things kicked off. The first one is probably the biggest news of the week, and it's moving day. Well, sort of. Amazon has announced this week that it has finalized the locations for HQ2. That wasn't a typo. There really are two HQ2s. The first is going to be in NYC. That's going to be in the Long Island, Queens area. The second one's going to be outside of Arlington, Virginia. In somewhat completely unsurprising news, Amazon already had a huge presence in both locations. They are both located about 6 minutes away from houses that Jeff Bezos already owns, and the rumor is that he wants a helicopter pad installed at both of them. The real estate market in both locations has already hit the roof, even on the rumors that this was going to be where they were going to be locating their headquarters. Stephen, now that Amazon has picked the locations it probably already wanted to use anyway, what does this really mean for the future of the HQ of Olympics the next time that Google wants to move out of Silicon Valley?
Well, I sure as heck hope that Google doesn't go through this same game. Honestly, from the outside, I've got nothing invested in this, no horses in this race, but I got to say, this doesn't look good. Amazon basically got all these cities to tell them everything they would do. You know, what would you do if I loved you so? And all the cities came out. And like you said, I mean, they picked the places we thought, we would have guessed they would have picked, right? I mean, you know, New York it's freaking New York, right? And Washington, D.C. is obviously increasingly important with Amazon's work with the federal government. Bezos' house there and the Washington Post connection to Bezos. And then, this has been a total boondoggle, I think. And the worst part is that Amazon is getting the massive kickbacks. Incentives from these places. Anyway, it's just nuts.
Yeah, and we've already seen some of the leaked information about what some of the places were putting up. I mean, Dallas was willing to give away 2,000 free hotel rooms for people to stay at while they were moving. They were going to give away free passes to the zoo and the Arboretum for all Amazon employees.
Zoo? Oh my God, Amazon made such a terrible mistake.
I know, right? The other rumor that I'm hearing is that not only did Amazon get to go through all these crazy motions to see exactly what people were willing to give up, they also got data on the residents of 238 different cities for free because the cities were willing to give all those analytics away. And now Amazon, they have a little bit more than they did 6 months ago.
Yeah, and it's funny. You mentioned the Long Island. So the Long Island City location. There's another wrinkle, and that is that's in this federal. Basically reinvesting in blighted neighborhoods and underprivileged areas. The area they picked is actually in that zone. And even though the specific neighborhood that Amazon is moving into is actually not at all blighted, in fact, it's already gentrifying. Heck, you can see the United Nations from there. It is still qualifies for additional tax breaks from the federal government thanks to moving in there. And it's just such a huge boondoggle. I mean, they were supposed to create a new headquarters, and instead they're just going to expand. Also lost in the news, Amazon is building, I don't know, you can call it HQ4 or whatever in Nashville. They're going to actually do a distribution facility, smaller headquarters there in Nashville. That's honestly what Amazon is doing, and that's what they should have done. And they shouldn't have made us all play this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's how it is, and I don't see it going away anytime soon. Get as much as you can to put things where you wanted to anyway.
Yeah. So New York is spending what, $48,000 per job?
That sounds about right. All right, Stephen, I hope you still have your BlackBerry around because it may get a little bit more exciting. Even though Halloween was 2 weeks ago, the undead are still not quite put to rest. Rumors abound that BlackBerry is going to consider purchasing a cybersecurity company named Cylance for about $1.5 billion. Cylance is a well-known endpoint security company. They have a lot of great clients, including Panasonic and the WWE. They made about $130 million last year in profit. They have 90% year-over-year growth. Is this a play to provide more protection to the growing BlackBerry ecosystem? Or is this a signal that BlackBerry's finally decided to ditch that hardware business that they so monopolized back in the day, and they're really ready to focus on software?
I think they're pivoting. I think they hope that they can be a big player in enterprise endpoint security and endpoint control. Silence is not at all the kind of product that you would have expected from BlackBerry, but it's actually a pretty cool product. And, I'm going to call it virus protection, virus scanning, malware scanning for endpoints. It's kind of cool. I mean, if you think about it, the only thing that BlackBerry really had that was great was the enterprise server component. And sorry, keyboard fans. And they now are going to be hopefully delivering something interesting on this. I don't know. On the other hand, the horse is probably out of the barn, and you probably can just kiss silence goodbye.
Yeah, I think that this is kind of a fascinating move. And I agree with John Herbert, who just commented on the stream, that it is pretty bizarre. You're right, John. This is really bizarre because you wouldn't think an endpoint manufacturer would want to buy an endpoint security company for security that doesn't run on their endpoints. But I think, Stephen, you're right. This is a pivot. They're dumping that stuff as fast as they can. They're trying to reinvent themselves. The question is there enough time for them to do that before the goodwill runs out? All right. Moving on to our next story. Big news, folks.
Before we move on to this, you can have free Bitcoin if you click here. All you have to do is send me your address.
Oh, sweet. I've been waiting for this. Oh, wait. I heard the same thing from Target and G Suite this week.
Oh, man.
Crap. Wait. Maybe there's Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk is doing this too.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I hope everyone out there in Twitter land and Facebook land knows by now that no one's giving away free Bitcoin, especially Elon Musk. So this week, both Target and G Suite Twitter accounts were hacked to push this Bitcoin scam. This is something that's becoming more and more prolific. At first, we saw people changing their Twitter name to Elon Musk with a little blue check mark, and suddenly people were clicking on their links. Now they're attacking well-known, widely followed accounts like Google and Target and who knows else, who else. Basically, the idea is that you get this link in front of enough people, and your con job's going to get enough clicks to get the scam to work. Given the fact that we beat Target up regularly for their lax security, see also the giant payment card hack. How is this going to play out for the future of what Target and other companies are doing to secure all of their social media presences? And realistically speaking, a lot of the articles that are talking here are really beating up Twitter for allowing this to happen. So who's going to share the
oh, wait. Yeah, I see him coming back.
And we might have lost Stephen. He may be
I'm still here.
While we're waiting on him to jump back in, I mean, I think that this is kind of crap. Realistically speaking, the fact that you can change your Twitter account to be something not very friendly to impersonation is kind of a pain in the neck. Oh, and I think we might have Stephen back now.
Hello. Sorry about that. I thought I lost you, and you thought you lost me. If you send me some Bitcoin, maybe we'll make this thing work.
Oh yeah, we were just talking about the fact that Twitter allows you to change your name to Elon Musk and it still looks verified is kind of crap anyway. But I mean, realistically speaking, also, I mean, Stephen, you and I have giant man trap border wall minefields to get into our Twitter accounts because we know how important they are to us. Yeah. So I feel like if you manage an account like Target, you really, really, really need to invest in some security for it.
Absolutely. And, my biggest concern about all this stuff is not that people are going to get scammed or that Target's going to look bad. It's that basically the whole world is learning that none of this stuff is secure and you can't trust anyone. It just goes to the current political movement as well, which is to say, well, nothing matters. No, it's such postmodernism, nothing's secure, nothing matters. You can't believe anyone. You can't believe verified. You can't believe Target. You can't believe Elon Musk, and that's bad. That's bad for all of us. And it's also sad that people are clicking on this thing. Another one that would want to jump in here too on this same note is there are a lot of scams. The I'm a programmer and have hacked your email scam. I
Yeah.
assume you've gotten some of those because I
Yes,
get
I
them on
have.
a daily basis. I'll tell you right now that I use a bogus password on bogus logins that require a password that I'm never going to touch again. And I get that with my bogus password in plain text saying, hey, your password is blah, blah, blah. And of course, they say, oh, well, this is your password on your bank or your email account, which is ludicrous because, of course, Tom and I use secure passwords. But, I think the whole world might be just getting to a point kind of like we are with credit, where people are just going to throw up their hands and say, well, there is no such thing as security. I don't believe anything. I can't secure anything. I'm just going to disbelieve it all and watch my money flush away.
Yeah, exactly. And Cisco's Talos division has done a really great breakdown of a lot of those scams that are going on. And you'd be surprised the number of things they're trying to pass off as security violations. But they all work on the same old confidence scheme of, that's a nice password you got there. It'd be a shame if somebody were to share it with people.
Yep.
And so I'm ready for this whole thing to pass over and we get back to the old fashioned pyramid schemes of my friends on Facebook trying to get me to sell shampoo or clothes or something else.
Well, the only redeeming quality about the Bitcoin scam is that somebody actually needs to know what Bitcoin is and how to use it in order for the thing to work. And hopefully those people didn't fall for it because, mom and pop back home probably would have.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, that's true. All right. Speaking of interesting things on the internet, let's talk about DNS for a minute. I know, right? You guys are probably sitting there already falling asleep. But the world's most famous example IP address is now going mobile. Cloudflare announced support for their privacy-based 1.1.1 DNS service this week. Now, if you remember correctly, they announced this on April Fool's Day, which was kind of hilarious. But 1.1.1, in addition to being the address that everybody uses in their example documentation, is a service that is offered by Cloudflare that allows you to shield your DNS requests from your internet service provider. That keeps you from getting hit to those block pages where they offer to sell you the typo that you accidentally put in there. It also allows Cloudflare to collect statistics about usage, which allows them to make their load balancing service a little bit better and make their availability services even better than that. The new service really just automates the process of you going into your phone and changing your DNS resolvers to be hard-coded to be 1.1.1.1. But as we just talked about in the last story, the average tech level of people who use iPhones is probably below what you think it is, which means they don't know what DNS is from a hole in the ground. I've been running 1.1.1 in my house for the last 6 months. And aside from the odd BGP hijack, it actually works really well. And I'm supporting a great service like Cloudflare that has done an amazing job of making the internet way more available than it has been in the past. Stephen, where do you think that this whole thing really fits in? Is moving Cloudflare out to mobile devices really a good way for them to kind of establish dominance in the DNS market?
Well, I do think that it's good on the whole that this thing exists. It is fast. Mm-hmm. It is more trustworthy. It is more secure. I mean, I've been using 8s for my DNS for a while. That's the Google version. And I, certainly I did 1.1.1.1 as well on my devices at home because I felt, confident in Cloudflare. I don't know that this is actually going to have much impact on the market as a whole. I mean, I imagine that it's probably good for Cloudflare, whoever uses it. But I don't think that this is going to be a big thing that people are going to say, oh, I'm going to rush out and get me some of that, because they don't even know what this is. And, and then there's another twist here, and that is that Cloudflare, although it has a great reputation with many people, I'm a paying customer. I like Cloudflare. I will say that there is some criticism about Cloudflare in their neutral handling of some right-wing, crazy, beyond right-wing internet sites. There's a lot of criticism of them there. And, honestly, that sort of thing, I think, is probably going to do as much damage to their reputation as one's DNS would enhance it. I don't think it's a big story, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's a neat thing for them to do, but yeah, this is not going to move the needle one way or the other. And as we found out last week at Networking Field Day, Blue Cat Networks, which is a company that does a lot with enterprise DNS, people in the enterprise don't like having DNS that's outside of their zone of control.
No.
And that's not something they're really going to want to tolerate. And of course, when you think about all the things that rely on DNS, like Active Directory, you're going to break a lot of things. So Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see how this works out for them. All right.
And a lot of
One
enterprises
last.
are using, open DNS and things like that. Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, and you're right. And it's basically becoming a competition to see who gets to use that one first. All right, one last story. I hope there are some VMware fans listening out there, because if you are, you probably got a chance to see some of the big announcements that came out at VMworld Europe last year. The biggest one that got the most news, though, actually just happened to be the smallest announcement that they made. VMware showed off on stage ESXi running on ARM, and not just any ARM, a Raspberry Pi 3. You're probably asking yourself right now, what's the point? A Raspberry Pi 3 has at most 1 gigabyte of RAM. ESXi takes up a svelte 500 megabytes of RAM just to boot. So what else are you going to do? I think in Duncan Epping's review, he said you could run one VM. Woohoo. Maybe it could be a vSAN witness for 2 host configs. Who knows? Now, is this just a case of we could do a thing, so we did a thing, but good luck making it useful? Or is VMware seriously thinking about trimming down the hypervisor to the point where it can run on all manner of things that it couldn't before? Because I know what you're thinking, ESX on IoT. It's going to happen. It's a thing.
I am totally puzzled by this. I mean, the only thing I can understand is that specifically, now, let me clarify. I am puzzled by ESXi on Raspberry Pi, because that is not a useful config. I mean, we mentioned, you got memory constraints, you've got performance constraints. I've been shouting from the rooftops that the IO is so limited on the Raspberry Pi that you can't really do anything with it useful anyway. I mean, you've got really slow networking, you've got no real storage connections to speak of. I mean, the thing is just, don't get me wrong, Raspberry Pis are great for certain uses. I rely on them, for example, as UPS monitors in my network. But the only thing I can think of that they're doing with this is it's a cool demo for VMworld Europe, and it makes the hackers excited. But also, frankly, it shows that VMware is serious about running ESXi on ARM. And as I wrote this week in Gestalt IT, Apple's tremendous, amazing advancements with their ARM CPUs prove that ARM can be a serious competitor for Intel. Certainly on mobile, but also on other devices. I mean, I'm firmly in the belief, in the camp that Apple's going to be moving desktops and laptops to ARM. And I am also firmly of the belief that companies like Dell and HPE and Lenovo are going to catch on and not only be shipping AMD EPYC, but also shipping, various ARM platforms as well. And I think that's the real message here, is VMware is saying, look, VMware ESX on ARM is not a problem. When it's ready, we're ready, and we will make it work. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is a shift, and they picked the smallest platform that they could to show off for a cool demo, but the real work is not going to happen on Raspberry Pis. I mean, we can thank Alex Ellis for all the work he's already done getting things running on Raspberry Pis. I think VMware is not going to settle there. They're going to move up the stack.
Yeah, this is just a demo, and it's a cool demo. And, with all the, like you mentioned, OpenFAS on, ARM or on Pi, and all the Kubernetes stuff on Pi, it's just a cool place to put it, to show it off.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. All right. Well, that will just about do it for this episode of The Rundown. We hope that you folks have enjoyed it. And please be sure to go out and celebrate National Pickle Day or National Spicy Guacamole Day, if that's your thing. I happen to be one of the guacamole fans in the room, and I know Stephen is as well. If you've missed any of this episode for any reason, please make sure to head over to our Facebook page where you can see archived episodes. You can also check out our YouTube channel if you're one of those people that doesn't like Facebook. We now have all the full episodes of this podcast, of this show, up there. We also have an audio podcast feed. If you want to search for the Gestalt, Gestalt, Gestaltit, rundown in your podcast podcast application of choice. You'll be able to find all of the great snarky goodness that we bring to you each week here at 12:30 Eastern Time. Just remember, tune in Facebook, set your calendars. Because we have a lot of great news that we want to share with you. Stephen, if people want to learn a little bit more about you, including reading that awesome review that you did of the brand new iPad, where can they find out more?
Well, I haven't blogged in over a year, and I published 2 blog posts this week on blog.foskits.net. So I think that's where they should start, because I'm excited. Oh my gosh, I'm not like Tom. Those of you who don't know, Tom's blog features amazing content all the time, and nobody does it better, man. Nobody does it half as well as you.
Well, thank you. I hope one day to have my own Bond theme song, and if really it should be as awesome as that one. No, I actually quoted Steven's review to a Best Buy employee last night, so I dropped some knowledge on behalf of the Apple fan club here. But check out Steven's Twitter account. He's at sfoskett. I'm at Networking Nerd on Twitter, and as he said, my blog is networkingnerd.net. But you can catch a lot of our great content on gestaltit.com, where we are doing unboxings and reviews, and we cover some of the great new companies that are out there with some of the great technology that you should be paying attention to. And of course, don't forget to check us out on the Rundown every week, 12:30 Eastern Time, right here on Facebook. If you have any story ideas, please let us know. We would love to cover those for you, give you our take on things. And for the crew here at gestaltit.com, for Stephen Foskett, Tom Hollingsworth, and for the rest of our friends out there, we wish that you have a super sparkly day. Enjoy that guacamole, folks.